some people are meme collectors, which I just have the utmost respect. So I try to do that with all the spice. Thank you to Twitter/X because a lot of it, a lot of it is from there, not exclusively. Yeah, a lot of the spice, and it's like I can funnel it through this one day so it doesn't get out and destroy my entire life in the town and start like a nuclear war out here in the physical space.
So this is specifically, I'm asking her, did I come off creepy when I was DMing her? I mean, like, DM, I've been trying to get on the ladies. And I'm always terrified. All jokes aside, I'm always terrified that I'm going to come off too much, too aggressive. The social anxiety kicks in, the construct, right? Because I'm thinking that I'm coming off like the big brown dude that I am, which most folks are terrified, specifically, white individuals, white women. And so when I'm doing these texts, I'm always a little scared, right? I always want to be professional, kind, but then cool, but authentic. And so I ask these questions, making sure I'm staying legit, making sure that my personality's in check when I'm sending messages. And it always is. I think it's just a really funny point, specifically as I'm trying to teach and use this as a tool for folks that are neurodivergent or autistic, or specifically just dudes sending messages. There's ways to be appropriate and also funny. And also, we make jokes about femininity in here because a lot of people will think that I'm like a woman when I'm texting them because it's kind and nice and not creepy and sexualized. And that's like, oh, this might be a woman. That's a good one. So I'm bringing this up because you find a lot of these gender norms in there that I don't necessarily fit, and thus I must be a woman or gay, which is interesting. So that's why we're teasing her about this in this clip.
I thought it came off really friendly. And then I just want to know who, because now I'm like, oh, how did it come across when I asked like who referred me? But I really just wanted to know because I have like several people that I could refer to you all, and I wanted to thank them. So no, I thought it came off really friendly, not robotic, not creepy, not weird.
She didn't say non-womanly, so just saying.
It did not come off femme, if that helps. I don't know.
I don't think this. We've been told this multiple times where they come on and they're like, "Oh shit, these are two guys, not women." Like, yeah, because you use a lot of emojis as well when you message.
This is triggering science neuron on my undergrad. I did an honors project on assuming someone's gender based on the type of language that they use. But this was even though my age, this is pre a lot of emoji use or anything. But there is some research on that. So I'm just wondering, I don't know. I don't think I assume as much gender probably most of this. Probably because I unlearned that when I was going through it. But it would have to align maybe with a stereotype for me to assume one way or another. But also, no offense to whomever has said that to you, I'm going to look at the page before I agree to be on a podcast. Maybe it's just because I'm a podcast host, but I kind of feel like I need to at least know the vibe and what I'm stepping into. Like, are we going to be a good fit? I'm just throwing that out there.
Also, we didn't have a lot of like face, like social media wise. We didn't really show our face a lot too. Like we didn't have as much as how much we have now. Yeah. It's a lot more now, but oh my fucking God. You're an idiot. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, let's get into Gen V. All right, Gen V. It's a spin-off of The Boys on Amazon. Shout out to Amazon. Yeah, shout out to The Boys. And it's all about these different kids who have all these powers, and they go to the school that's specifically all about the powers. And then, after they get to have like these certain classes that they go to have these different careers for having these powers and all this. So it's very, it's very boxed in, robotic. Like you have to, if you're really good at this, and it's, even if you're not good at that, it's more about like how they look at you numbers wise when it comes from like how popular are you, how who's your family members, all this stuff that in the education system is already looked at through, and it's through everything, really. It's just through life. Let's be honest. That's just life in general. You look at corporations, they're hiring people that they already know or are related to them, you know. Yeah, pigeonholed in just sports. What is it called now? It's something babies. Was it where it's like nepo babies? Nepo babies. Yeah. I know, and you just anytime you talk, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna let him talk, and then you're just like nipple, nipple. Jesus. Anyways, nepo babies, all this real life stuff that's happening right now, and I'm kind of glad that social media is kind of calling it out a little bit, and that see all these nepo babies kind of getting upset, being like, "Oh, I had nothing when I grew up, except for this mansion and oh, a family that loved me." Um, but anyways, that's what it's all about. And then we have these different characters that are going through all these different things. Just like we have Emma, who is going through all the it's she literally throws up to get smaller. That's like her superpower. And then she eats to get bigger. So it's like kind of that back and forth, right? So now we're looking at eating disorders for her. Then we also have Marie, who her like she can control blood in all these different ways, and the only way she can kind of do that at the moment is to cut herself, which once again, different way of self-harm in order to use these different powers. Um, and then we also have another character, I forgot their name, but they also they can change genders. They could change from a man or a woman. Then that's kind of relating to the trans issues there. But in this first scene, right, we have Emma who's talking to this girl, Justine, who's like the popular
Justine.
Justine. Even saying it, you're just like, ugh. It's like Venom, Justine. Um, and you have her and she's been in a ton of movies and all this stuff, and Emma really is looking up to her as kind of like somebody to be like, hey, wow, if I'm cool with her, then I'm cool overall, and then I don't have to do all these small person scenes anymore because she does this social media as being tiny and gets millions of followers. um, but then she tells her about the purging, which she doesn't tell anybody about. Um, and you can kind of already sense just like the little manipulations in there, like when she was like, I don't want to tell you how I have my powers and stuff. She's like, okay, fine, don't tell me then. Well, I guess I'll, just be over here. And and then as soon as she tells her, then she kind of reassures her by saying like, hey, you know what? You can be anyone you want. You can be Maeve, the strongest character, like in the show. Um, and I just find it so interesting, right? Is that it's not only about deceit, like eating disorders, but then it's also about this kind of manipulation and how we're kind of forced to, especially with social media, we're forced to kind of have these things all out there when sometimes these are very private issues. Um, so Dr. Mac, when we're talking about these issues and stuff like that, do you get have you gotten a lot of pullback when it comes to certain issues what a client wants to talk about? And how do you deal with that as a therapist or a psychologist?
And I'm gonna give the most stereotypical therapist answer. It
Ah,
depends on the client. It also depends on where we are in our relationship. I can't expect someone in systems that we're in, we feel really rushed to get all the history and then figure out treatment as soon as possible. And it's easy in that space to forget that this person's meeting with a new therapist. And no matter what type of therapy we do, at the end of the day, that relationship is of the utmost importance. Like trusting whoever, it could be a medical provider too, definitely a therapy provider. If I'm expecting to trust them with my most vulnerable things, I may not want, and especially if I've been harmed by providers in the past, I'm not going to likely want to share a lot of that. And also, we're being honest, a lot of times when we go to therapy, therapists included, we have the decoy therapy issue, like what we think the issue is that we're going to therapy, like consciously. And so a lot of the real underlying issues they're not just hidden from the therapist, they're hidden from the client. Like we got to work to uncover those over time, depending on the type of therapy that you do. And so certainly I've gotten pushback from people for a variety of reasons. And so, especially at the beginning, I mean, I just let people know you don't have to answer anything yet. If it keeps coming up where there's a wall there, I think it's helpful for us to know at the very least, why is the wall over here? And also importantly, like why is the wall like not over here? Because for someone else in front of me, it might be the reverse or something else. And so just kind of I feel like a building inspector. We're kind of looking around the wall. Like what is it about the wall? What is it about the space? What is it like setting a essentially a bound getting very right here, right now between us? What is that like? Telling someone who is in a position of power, despite my Spidey tattoo, they're still a position of power, and they're telling me no. And does that come up a lot in their life? Does it not? Like, is that so? Really, just being really curious, and so certainly that does happen a lot. So sometimes it's intentionally withholding information because for any number of reasons, again, the trust may not be there. Concealing that. Side note, my whole dissertation was on essentially more so racism in therapy.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. Check out the full episode on our channel and anywhere you find podcasts. Also, remember to like and subscribe. Whoop whoop!